Oh, I think we finally did it. I haven't been letting you go online. I just keep talking to you and asking you questions, Whitney. But here we are. We
All right.
did it. I'm like, Whitney, but wait, no. Whitney, but wait, no. Wait, one more thing.
Wait.
But wait, here we go. So, hi, Whitney. I feel like I haven't seen you in a very long time.
It has been a while. Indeed, it has been a while. So good to see your face again. So
it's good to see you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think most people know that you're one of my favorites, not just because of your mad teaching skills, but just what a sweet human being you are. So I just want to say that first, that anyone who's fortunate enough to learn from you or go to one of your classes, if you can do that, I would get on board and make that happen for yourself. So yeah. So Whitney,
thank you so much for that. Appreciate that. Yeah.
So Whitney, you've been around for 30 years. And how I got to stop in at one of your classes when you were in PA here. Mm-hmm. And overall, the verbiage that I heard was that you're very accessible. You're a lot of fun, and you make a lot of the subjects that seem very complicated, not so complicated. So now that I'm talking about you, would you agree that that's true about yourself?
Well, some things I will attest to. Just to address the learning environment, things in the classroom, I think that is something that I can say without so much bias. But that does highly influence the way in which I do things in the classroom. And a lot of this has to do with having spent a lot of years studying learning science and educational theory and learning strategies and instructional design and all those things, because I found a number of years ago that, I was in class with a number of people that I thought were outstanding clinicians and they just had some great things to convey to people. But I realized that the teaching or the presentation just wasn't quite there, and really began to recognize how critically important and different teaching is than just learning things or being a clinician. And so I put a whole lot of focus and emphasis on learning how to be a better teacher. And I think that's what makes the classroom experience a lot more enjoyable and beneficial for people as well.
And I just wanted to give a shout out too, because I know I believe you've been, well, no, it sounds a little cocky on my end, but I can see working on the back end of your website. Looks a little different. And also you're doing more, you have the Insight Weekly blog that you're doing. I don't know how long you've been doing that, but I've just been noticing it published and out there more on Instagram and some other social media places. So do you want to tell a little bit about that? Because I think, there's just, the more you can learn from Whitney, I guess the better for you. So where can
we're just trying to, content marketing seems to be a lot of where things are these days. And I know people's time and attention gets shorter and shorter and shorter, and they're just bombarded with messages everywhere all the time. So I know it's hard to wade through stuff, but again, I am really, really highly committed to making a lot of this content and information as accessible to people as possible. And sometimes that means short pieces of content in smaller segments, like in a quick newsletter or a quick YouTube video or something like that, not a 4-hour course that you got to sit through or something like that. So I try to put just as much effort into putting out some really good, clinically relevant content for people every week in our newsletter, and then also frequently in our YouTube videos that we're doing as well. So just trying to get stuff out there to people. This is a learning thing as well. It's called chunking, which means small chunks of content in, spaced out apart from each other over time, oftentimes is more helpful and beneficial than just being bombarded and swamped by stuff all at one time.
I agree. What's one of one of these clips or shorter crunch education videos, writings that you're most proud of? What would you give us a little taste of what they might be able to find?
Well, I do different things, sometimes focusing a lot on particular conditions. That's one of the things that I have done a whole lot, I think more than a lot of the other teachers and providers out there. And one of the reasons is I think this really helps develop a lot of the clinical reasoning skills that really make you a very good clinician, is to know and understand a lot more about what are some of the things that people might be bringing into you, like what's really happening, like what is actually going on. So a lot of what I do with some of the smaller clips might be focused on particular conditions, some of the unique facets of thoracic outlet syndrome, or some of the the unusual things that happen in a tarsal tunnel syndrome. And some people have never even heard of that. Like, well, what is this? You know, it's like, well, here's a chance for you to expand your clinical understanding and also be a lot better in the treatment room with your clients if you know what some of these things are and know how to make some distinctions between things, because you can make some pretty significant mistakes by assuming things are something when they're really not, and then you really shouldn't be doing certain types of things. So again, that's why I think that kind of stuff is really important.
I love the small chunks of information. For me personally, that's how it definitely sinks in. And then I noticed that you have free downloads. What the hell's going on there, Whitney? Free downloads. Tell us about the free downloads.
Well, free downloads. Which free downloads are we talking about here? Like
You're
with
on your website, it said something about free downloads.
Yeah. So I mean, this is, you know, it's what's referred to as a lead magnet in marketing speak. So basically, you know, making things available to people to get them, you know, having a sense of interest in, well, what it is that we really do. Well, so we make some stuff available free on the website for you to look at and say like, hey, do I resonate with this approach? Does this kind of make any sense for me? And so, yeah, we make a lot of that stuff available for people just to kind of get a taste of what this is about, because what I do is not for everybody, clearly. And so like, I want you to feel like you're really doing something that both interests you and really is going to help grow your career. And every clinician, I mean, I know it because I've been in that place too, is like, you got to make decisions about where you're going to spend your resources and time and money on things, and know that it's going to get something of value back for you. And there's so much breadth of focus in this field of all of these different avenues that people can explore. And you just got to find what resonates for you. And so I want to try to help people, you know, get a sense of like, is this something that really resonates with them? And, you know, getting a taste of some of these kind of things. It's like going to the ice cream store, you know, like, hey, can I taste the chocolate strawberry mix thing or something like that, you know?
I feel like that's part of what I love doing online is getting you guys out there, and you're all so different and everyone has something to offer, and each one of you has a little bit of a different approach and does focus on different things. And I think it's amazing. So then orthopedic medical massage. So you kind of I'm just going on your website. I went on your and now I'm going to quiz you on your own website.
All right.
So it's condition focused, client specific. So tell us a little bit more about then your approach, how you kind of look at things and what they can kind of expect from your approach.
Yeah. So I would say the big driver behind this whole approach is, you know, and this is something that I've kind of gotten a bit known for over the years, is the focus on assessment as the driver of the decisions that you make about what you're doing with treatment. And this really, you know, came to my understanding early on in my career when I started working with my first couple of clients that had some significant pain problems. And I recognized, like, I don't have any idea what's wrong with this person. How do I figure that out? And because I was going to all these wonderful workshops with a lot of really, really wonderful, great teachers, and we were learning all kinds of really cool and interesting treatment technique things. But I also realized at the same time, like, I don't know what's really wrong with people sometimes. And I don't know if this is the right thing to be doing or the wrong thing to be doing, or is this the right thing at this stage of the game or something like that. And so I began putting a whole lot of focus on the assessment process to recognize, you know, number one, what is something? Should I even be working on it? Because there's a lot of things we shouldn't be working on. Number two, if I am going to work on it, what's the best strategy for working with this thing? Like, and maybe I've determined that something looks a lot like what I think is a carpal tunnel compression of their median nerve, but one person's carpal tunnel syndrome is way different than another person's. And you just can't look up a protocol. How do you treat carpal tunnel syndrome? Because it's just not that simple. And so the other part of our treatment strategy is really based around making those decisions about where somebody is, what is the level of severity, how long has it been around, you know, is this an acute injury, a chronic injury, like what kind of factors are going to change how you're going to go about your treatment processes. And that's the other thing, is that having adaptability in your treatment method, so that you don't just like I am a, you know, fill in the blank therapist, and this is what I do this kind of work, and this is how I do it. That's a pretty kind of narrow approach, and it, you know, may help you build some skills doing that one particular type of thing, but your clients are highly hugely variable. So the more you can come at this with a broad perspective and looking at some different ways to possibly work with them, that's what I think is going to give you better clinical success in the long run.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So now that, I mean, I just wanted to give everybody a little taste. I mean, most people know who you are, but maybe, we haven't had a talk for a little while. So there's a little bit overview of what you do. And I just had some, I said some other questions so people can kind of know where you've come from. And that is who in the beginning of your career do you feel like was your biggest influence personally and professionally? And then currently, is that the same, or is there someone else now who's kind of hitting home for you? And I say personal and professional because I don't know, I don't keep those separate.
Yeah.
They're kind of one and the same, sort of. Maybe I have different things. I have a lot of different things that I do, but I was wondering if anything came to your mind in the beginning and kind of where you are now with some of that stuff.
Yeah, I'll answer this question. This is going to sound a little bit weird in the second part of your question, but let me answer the first part of the question first. In the early parts of my career, it's without a doubt, unquestionably, it's Benny Vaughn. Benny was the first person that I encountered, and I was taking a lot of courses from some outstanding, wonderful, wonderful educators, and he was the first person that ever talked extensively about assessment, and he's the one that kind of got me on that track. And we developed a really good relationship and working relationship together for a number of years. We were doing some work back at a massage school in Atlanta and then teaching together for a while. And I learned so much from him, not only about, massage and the massage world and all this kind of stuff, but just watching him as a person. And that was the personal part of that. We became very good friends and have remained very good friends throughout the years. And a lot of people don't know this. Benny was the best man at my wedding.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So we've hung out together and he's just been a humongous influence on me over the years.
You want to know something?
What's that?
Benny? I got a massage from Benny.
Oh, you did?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It was
cool.
So cool. It was so cool. It was something. But anyway, sorry, I got excited when I heard it.
Well, if you start doing the math about, he's, I think it's this fall, I think it is. He said that he's going to come up on 50 years in the profession. It's his 50-year anniversary in the profession. Think about the number of people that he has touched and influenced over the course of that time, and expand that into the number of people that they have touched and influenced. And the math, it just starts looking, magnanimous. It's big. It's really big. So anyway, it's just he's just a super inspiring. That he's just a super inspiring individual, and just a great mentor for all of us in the field about what are the possibilities with what we can be doing here in massage. Mm-hmm. The second part of your question, and this is going to be a weird answer, most influential for me right now, is technology, and more so than an individual. And I'm going to call this back to this is so weird to say, it's the early days of the internet, but it so dramatically changed my work. Mainly from the time, for example, like in the early days, when I was trying to, school myself and learn things. I was back in Atlanta, and luckily I lived just right down the road from Emory University Medical School. And so I used to just go to the medical library at the end of work, and at the end of my work day, just go hang out in the library and read stuff and study things. And that was a tremendous goldmine of information. But when I left Atlanta and moved out of there, I realized how lucky I was to just live right down the street from a very renowned medical school library. And most people don't have that opportunity. And at the time when the internet began growing and developing, and then of course over the years, as things like access to digital information, PubMed, National Library of Medicine, all this stuff being online extensively now, and some of the AI research tools that are out there that allow us to be able to just dramatically, in very short periods of time, summarize large numbers of research papers and analyze content for plain language, because a lot of these papers are written by academics trying to impress their colleagues, and they're just really hard to get through. But now some of these tools that are out here, especially the AI research tools that are out here, that will allow you to take a paper and say, hey, explain this paper to me in plain English like a 10th grader or something like that. This is just dramatically changing and accelerating the access that we have to vast amounts of knowledge and understanding. And it has, and I'm also talking about technology and the internet in the broader sense of you and I now having a conversation across 3,000 miles away from each other. And there's a whole bunch of people. Well, there may be a whole bunch of people. There may be a couple of people listening to this. But the possibility is that we can have this conversation with people all over the world simultaneously, or in asynchronous time of having conversations with each other.
Like the jams.
And I have learned so much from those interactions, on social media discussions or, threads here and there, or things that I can look up. It's just that for the second half of my career has been super, super valuable and informative for me as a thing that has shaped me. And I'm just really excited to see where it's going to keep going,
I think that was a very interesting. I don't think that was weird. I think that was an interesting answer, and it's true. You can find out so many things now that you didn't have access to, and bring everybody together. Like I've met most of the teachers online first, and then met you all in person.
Yeah,
I think
when you think about it, like when I think back to my early days, and I'm getting close to. It's actually about 37 years I've been doing this, so we're getting close to 40 years now. Back in those days, it was all about you had to go to these classes with these people to get the content information. Or you could read some things in books, like I did in the medical library, books and medical journals and things like that. But it was all about get the content, go get the content, because the content was locked up either in the libraries or it was locked up in the knowledge and experience of the educators who were teaching these things. That's basically all you could do. And now it's not really about content any longer, because content is just everywhere. The content information is everywhere. We're at a new place now, I think, where what people are looking for more, what really helps them more now is not so much about you've got to be the repository of all this content, but you got to teach people, you got to be a curator. You got to find ways to help people recognize how to use the tools that are out there to their benefit, to really be able to school themselves, learn things, learn from their clients and all this kind of stuff. And now it's more about learning how to consolidate and curate all the things that are out there, and also filter, because we're obviously all just extremely awash in an extreme overabundance of information that's out there.
And then, because I know you have an abundance of information in your mind and have done a lot of research, I have a question that's just totally off topic, sort of, but still about massage. What do you think some of the biggest myths are in regards to the effectiveness or lack of effectiveness of massage? You know what I'm saying? Like some people say this, it can do this, it can do that. What do you think are some of the bigger myths of we could say the effectiveness first, or then the lack of?
Yeah, I think some of the biggest myths that are out there, and I'm going to say, right now I'm going to raise my hand, volunteer for saying, like, I've been a proponent of propelling a number of these myths especially early on over the years in various different phases. Some of the biggest myths I think that are out there revolve around what massage is doing. And a lot of this is technique based around what my particular technique does. Like I help you, unwind your fascia from so-and-so. Like I help you, heat up your glenohumeral joint capsule, or I help you do this kind of thing, restructure your back, whatever it is. There's a lot of, this is what the research is telling us now. There's not a lot of support for most of the narratives around many of the treatment techniques that are out there. So that doesn't mean they don't work. What it means is we probably aren't quite understanding accurately how they work the way they do. And I think what we're really coming upon now is a much greater understanding that massage is actually a whole lot more complicated in terms of how it works than many of us realize. And so it's not so simple. Like I can say, like, the manual effect of me putting my hands on your back and doing this long stroke down your back is stretching and elongating your fascia and lengthening your muscles. It's really not that simple. It's a whole lot more complex about the neuroendocrine system and the pain processes and the higher brain functions and all kinds of other things that are making things change in your body a lot more, I think, on a neurological level than maybe on a mechanical level of what we're doing with the actual tissue manipulation things that we're doing. That's challenging for a lot of people who have particular treatment technique models that are based on these narratives. But it's also incredibly fascinating when you think about like how incredibly powerful massage really is because of the way it affects all of these different systems. And I'm going to be honest and tell you, I don't think there are many treatment methods and methodologies in the entire healthcare system that have as much potential for affecting all kinds of global systems like this throughout the body as massage therapy does. And that's, to me, just absolutely incredible, you know?
Thank you, Whitney.
Yeah.
I think it is too. I always said, how do you feel about this one? Because I've said for years that I don't know what roads were traveled in order for the person who's on my table to get there. And that just doesn't mean physical. That means emotional, how they think, their where they come from, all that stuff. When they lay on the table, and then Whitney Lowe lays on the table, I mean, there's just like so many tiny, minute differences, and then really big differences.
Yeah.
So I love what you're saying. You're saying that massage is even more than we could imagine. That it's
I think so. Yeah.
More than we thought it could.
Yeah. Which, you know, feeds into my role as an educator of feeling like we're not even coming close to doing what we're supposed to be doing to educate people about these things so we can learn how to leverage them. I mean, as a clinician, that's where it comes home. That's where it comes home to roost, is like, how do I leverage these things to be more effective with my clients? And I honestly do think the more you understand about some of these complex systems, the better you're going to be, the better you're going to get at what you're doing, and you're going to have a lot more success with your clients. So that's why you got to never stop learning, you know, never stop exploring, never stop looking into some of these kinds of things.
And I think, you know, there's a nice balance between an intellectual point of view, and then once your hands are on a lot of people and feeling the different landscapes, I think there's no way you can argue with what Whitney's saying to a degree on that. It's just so much more than a brain can, or science, or one human can comprehend. That it's really a lifelong journey to even begin to taste or touch what massage therapy can do for people, which is actually pretty cool.
Yeah. And, you know, some of the most powerful and really compelling aspects of what we do are some of the things that are hardest to teach. I mean, I can teach somebody how to do a deep stripping technique on the tibialis posterior a lot easier than I can teach them how to be a compassionate, intriguing, introspective individual who's connecting on a person-to-person level with their client. You know, so those things are a lot harder to teach and to get across, but those are some of the very most powerful things that make our work do what it does.
Preach it! Yeah. Yes, it's so true. I love that you're saying that. It's just, it means the world to me, and probably anyone listening who practices massage. So.
And I'm also going to say, you know, from the business perspective, it's a lot harder to sell it, you know, so it would be a lot easier for me to, you know, create some technique, some manual technique, and make a narrative around it, and talk about how it creates, you know, magical results in 2 treatments for everybody and everything like that. That'd be a whole lot easier to sell. So from a business perspective, this makes my job harder. Let's just put it that way, for trying to, you know, encourage people to do these things.
I just think after a certain amount of time of being in the business and having your hands on enough people, I mean, it's undeniable that it's true that, like I said, people have a lifetime long journey. They walk through my door, and then we begin a journey together for sure, but I have no idea where they've been. They could even tell me where they've been. They could put their hand on a Bible and swear where they've been, but that doesn't mean that's where they've been. They might not even remember where they've been, and it might be somewhere happening in their, so it's just such a complex and beautiful thing being a human, just one of us, let alone billions.
Yeah. So it's big. It's super big. And it's one of the things that I think, this is something I would say to the massage therapist who I have so much admiration for, the people who are out there every day doing it in the clinic and in the treatment room and in the trenches with these things, because there's a lot of challenges, physical challenges of doing that every day. But, let's face it and be real. Anybody who's spent any time doing this, you're susceptible to burnout and boredom and all this kind of stuff because of those kinds of things. Sometimes the work can feel somewhat repetitive or something like that. But if you can tap into recognizing what's going on with each individual every time that they're in the treatment room with you, that can make your world very different. And here's another analogy I'll just share with you briefly on this. Is like, I heard an interview years ago with James Taylor, the singer-songwriter, who, was super popular back in my day in the 70s and everything. And he's still, singing the same old songs for decades later. And somebody in this interview was asking him, don't you get tired of singing those same songs every night at every concert? And he goes, of course I do. But then I look out in the audience and I watch this person's face and I recognize they've been waiting their whole life to come hear me sing this song for them. And I've got to go out there and give it everything I've got to make that experience really wonderful for them.
Yes.
That is so inspiring. And that was really,
that's good
and I try to remember that, when it's that Friday afternoon and, it's the end of the week and it's like you're close to the last massage of the day and like, oh man, I'm really tired. I'm really, run down or something like that. But that person has been waiting all month or whatever it is to come in and see you for this super special time that is going to potentially dramatically change their life in some really significant ways. So show up,
I might
show up for them as best you can with all you got every time you can.
Oh, I think I'm going to play this interview for my Freedom Massage staff. This is so good.
Yeah, there you go.
It's so true. It's the most important thing from the time they pull up into your parking lot and are walking towards your door. We actually open the door for our clients and welcome them, or we welcome them. It's just also important. I love everything you're saying. So here's something that we were talking about earlier that I think is going to be really cool.
Yeah. And can you hold that thought for a second? I wanted to say just one other thing before we leave that topic, is that I just want to say too, this also informs a lot of what I do in the classroom, because I have the same attitude about this in the classroom. I recognize there's a lot of people in there who spend a whole lot of money, and for many of them waited a lot of years to get some time to spend with me in the classroom. And I put that same kind of effort into being there absolutely 100% as much as I can for people all day long, every day that we're doing those kinds of things, both in the live classroom and in the online things as well that we do with our online classes. But that dedication to being there for people, got to make that a part of your life. You got to be just kind of like ingrained into doing that kind of thing for you. So anyway, I just wanted to put that.
And I know that's true, because I know some of your students, and that's definitely something that they love about you. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground and we've been on here a little while. So I want to say that you and I are going to get together again in September, and we're going to do one of my Zoom meetups where people can sign up and join you and I in a private Zoom meeting. We'll talk about some stuff, you and I, and then they get to ask questions. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. So we'll do that in September. I'm excited to see you again. We're thinking maybe the 20th or 27th, but we'll let you guys know. And I just want to say,
are you going to sing for me? Will I see you in September?
I will. I will. I'm a little shy, Whitney, a little shy, but I just want to say this has been one of my favorite talks with you. I mean, you came in and just really shared a lot of great stuff. I'm always so thankful to see you and have some time with you. And I can't wait till September to have you here again. And like I said, you guys will be able to sign up and be one-on-one with Whitney and ask away. And maybe he'll bring us some little treats and show us some stuff. Who knows what'll happen? Who knows what'll happen?
Yeah, all kinds of things. Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
So thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure to speak with you. And thank you so much
Oh
for the
my
invitation to come and hang out and
Yeah.
chat a bit and share some stuff with your folks
I
there.
love it.
Yeah.
So hang on, Whitney. I'm going to end here, but jump
Okay.
right back.